And we're rolling, rolling, rolling down the river. Rolling. Okay, sorry guys about that. I apologize so much. Kind of working some things out here, guys. Like I said, technical difficulties earlier today. I sincerely and utterly apologize for that. As I'm sitting here singing Tina Turner. I know I have no singing voice, and I apologize for that. And I still thank y'all guys for listening. So just give me just a few seconds here. Just gonna knock out some things. Sharing mostly. So if you are seeing this, definitely like, share, and subscribe to the podcast because, like I said, kind of got a lot of stuff to go over today. So we're just gonna go ahead and get that out the way as soon as humanly possible. Aside from that, guys, hope you all is doing well. Hopefully that you guys are staying safe. Because trust me, right now, whoo, oh man, dude, we got a lot of crap to cover. Just because some folks out here are acting re-darn damn ridiculous. So, but just give me a second here, and I think I've covered everything. If not, we're gonna go ahead and go with it. So, today's date is April 18, 2020, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, on How the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. Before I do get started, this is an adult podcast, which means the adult language may be used and things of adult nature may be shown or too graphic for young viewers. So viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, guys, welcome. Well, there's no other better way we could say this. For all those that are still for all of us really who are still under the stay-at-home executive orders, today's kind of rough. The last couple of weeks have been rough. Probably for a lot of your states, including mine, the stay-at-home has been extended. I know for Tennessee, it's been extended until April 30th. I know for other states, it's been extended until May. So, and you're probably wondering at this point how long you're going to be quarantined with your loved ones, with your kids, your family, and things of that nature. Well, some states are starting to consider easing the restrictions.
Testing agents a few months ago, we'd be in a very different position than we are today.
Testing and tracing key to any phased reopening. Minnesota's governor wants to test 5,000 people a day before making any substantial changes. Massachusetts announcing a community tracing initiative to track those who've tested positive for COVID-19 and anyone they've had contact with.
We consider this to be a critical effort to not only slow the spread of coronavirus, but to help our Commonwealth return to some semblance of normal life while keeping an eye on where the virus is still present.
In New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo calling for the federal government to step up, while also offering insight into when businesses can reopen.
This is not just government deciding. It's government deciding with private businesses who now have to take a look at this new normal, this new reality, and tell us how they think they can adjust to it. One of our questions and evaluations is, how essential is that business service?
As the president issues new guidelines, states continue with their own.
We're all sick of it. We all wonder, is it necessary? Wearing a mask makes it even more difficult, but the answers are it is necessary.
New mandates for face coverings. Stay-at-home orders extended in New York and Wisconsin, which is now partnering with 6 other Midwestern states to coordinate efforts. As Americans wait for further instruction, many are hurting. 22 million Americans have filed for unemployment.
So yeah, pretty much as you can see before we go into the next, because it's going to go into the next story I wanted to cover. As of right now, the stay-at-home, it just seems to be, like I said, dragging. I do like the fact that yes, there should be some consideration as far as reopening. But anyone who's actually seen how viruses work, there's a thing called a second wave. And honestly, for me, because the numbers themselves are still saying we're still high as far as high corona cases. We're also seeing a very increased number of people recovering from coronavirus. The problem with second wave infections is just that they happen as people think that, okay, numbers are starting to climb down. It's very safe to go out and assume business is normal. That would be a falsified way of thinking. Personally, just because that's how the second wave infections happen. Because the reason why it's called second wave is because it's almost a resurgence of infections that can happen. And in that state, when that does happen, you actually get higher cases than you did the first time. So they're trying to really flatten the curve so much that we don't really get a second wave, if you will. With that also being said. But I understand, like I said, people are antsy. People are wanting to get out. People are wanting to live life again, especially if they're social butterflies. They have to be where the people are. And let's be honest, when it comes to Dorito basically has a plan, and it's fucking scary.
His blueprint to reopen the country.
America wants to be open, and Americans want to be open.
His guidelines call for a phased approach, though he says it'll be up to governors to decide when to lift restrictions. States would enter phase 1 after they see a 2-week decline in the number of people with COVID symptoms and in the percentage of people testing positive for the virus. And once a state can check those boxes, people would still be advised to maintain social distancing and avoid socializing in groups of more than 10, but businesses could look at ways to slowly return to work. If states are able to go 2 weeks without a rebound of COVID cases, they can move to phase 2, where you could see some places like restaurants, movie theaters, and bars reopen with social distancing protocols. The president, hopeful parts of the country could reopen by month's end.
I think 29 states are in that ball game.
Ohio's governor believes his state can be one of them.
And I'm an optimist. We can do this.
Ohio, part of a new coalition of 7 Midwestern states working together on a plan to reopen. 7 states on the East Coast and 3 states on the West Coast forging similar alliances. Though some, like New York, have already extended their shutdowns until at least May 15th. Governors and health officials alike agree the key to the future is testing and tracking the contacts of people who are infected to prevent further spread. Dr. Deborah Birx on CNN.
There is no disease where we test 140 million workers on a weekly basis. CDC already has about 500 plus people on the ground in many of the states.
The big fear, a potential second spike in some states.
I mean, let's face it, this is uncharted water. There may be some setbacks that we may have to pull back a little and then go forward.
And while testing is key,
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's Trump's business plan to reopen America. By slowly testing and by slowly checking data, and yet somehow bars and restaurants must open. I get it to a certain extent. People who work in the service industry right now are feeling it more than likely. With business closing, some services going just to take out and delivery only. I get it. Folks are hurting, but at the same time, in my opinion, it is still too early to consider anything of that nature of trying to sit there and say, I think we need to go ahead and reopen because the number's not as high as it used to be. For me, it's one of those things where I just sit there and I cringe a little bit just because the simple fact of the matter is just that there's not enough evidence to sit there and say we can safely go back to being out in the public and whatnot, just because the simple fact of the matter is just that you really are still fighting that uphill battle with trying to control this infection. There's not a lot of information about it as far as we know the transmission vectors, things of that nature. We do know the fact that people are recovering from it, but there's still deaths happening from it. So, again, instead of trying to figure out how to get people back to work, it should be more about how to take care of people in this time of need, because they can't work because, well, they shouldn't be around people because it's too easy to get this virus, especially if you're immunocompromised, which means that your immune system is not as strong as most folks. I'm just saying it's a lot easier to go that route. But again, when you're looking at Dorito believes he can run America like a business, and he is running it like a business. Many of his failed and declared bankruptcy businesses, but yes, he's running them exactly like that. Even more so that even right now, he's being asked about the coronavirus because there could possibly be an investigation. And when a reporter asked this, well, let's just say he answered in his typical fashion.
How do you close down the greatest economy in the history of the world when on January 17th you have no cases and no death? When on January 21st you have 1 case and no death. 1 case. Think of that. Now, we're supposed to close down the country, but here's what happened. When on January 31st I instituted the ban, Joe Biden went crazy. He said, you don't need the ban. He didn't go crazy. Like he didn't even know what the hell the ban was. But he didn't go crazy. But he did say, he did call me xenophobic. Wait a minute. He called me xenophobic. He called me a racist because he has since apologized and he said I did the right thing. So when you say, why didn't you this? Every Democrat thought I made a mistake when I did it. I saved tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of lives by putting
time that you bought. The argument is that you bought yourself some time. You didn't use it to prepare hospitals. You didn't use it to ramp up testing. Right now, nearly 20 million people
disgraceful.
are unemployed.
It's so disgraceful the way you said it. Let me just listen. I just went over it.
Or this rant's supposed to make people feel
I just went over
in
it.
an unprecedented crisis.
Nobody thought we should do it, and when I did it,
But what did you do with the time that you bought?
you know
The
we
month
did.
of February. That
You know what we
video
did?
has a gap.
What
The
do you
entire
do?
month of February.
What do you do when you have no case in the whole United States?
You had cases
When
in February.
excuse me, you reported it. 0 cases, 0 deaths on January 17th.
January, February, the entire
January,
month of
I said in
February. Your video
January.
has a complete gap.
On
Month of
January
February.
30th.
What did your administration do in February with the time that your travel ban bought
A
you?
lot.
What?
A lot. And in fact, we'll give you a list. What we did, in fact, part of it was up there. We did a lot. Look. You know you're a fake. You know that. Your whole network, the way you cover it, is fake. And most of you, and not all of you, but the people are wise to you. That's why you have a lower approval rating than you've ever had before, times probably 3. And when you ask me that question, let me ask you this: why did Biden apologize? Why did he write a letter of apology?
Right now care
No,
about
that's
why
very
Joe Biden
important.
didn't apologize
Why
to
did the
you.
Democrats think that I acted too quickly? You know why? Because they really thought that I acted too quickly. We have done a great job. Now, I could have kept it open. And I could have done what some countries are doing. They're getting beat up pretty badly. I could have kept it open. I thought of keeping it open because nobody's ever heard of closing down a country, let alone the United States of America. But if I would have done that, we would have had hundreds of thousands of people that would right now be dead. We've done this right, and we really have done this right. The problem is the press doesn't cover it the way it should be.
The president has continually attacked Joe Biden for.
So yeah, what was supposed to be a briefing literally turned out to be just him doing his usual thing. And by his usual thing, I mean the simple fact of the matter is I'm going to blame, I'm going to spread blame, I'm going to reiterate and be louder, and then finally I'm going to insult you, which he loves to do to CNN and MSNBC and NBC a lot because he calls them fake news. So it amazes me so that now Mr. Dorito, you've been presented with facts, and instead of just standing on those facts, you chose to be a dick, I guess. So I guess I shouldn't really be surprised by that. No more so that we should be surprised by it because now Trump is still believing that he has total authority, emperor-like power, that he's trying to pull this move as well.
To install senior officials and federal judges without Senate approval.
I have a very strong power. I'd rather not use that power, but we have way over 100 people that we very badly need in this administration that should have been approved a long time ago.
The president says he will invoke a presidential power that's never been used before to adjourn the House and Senate so he can fill the positions himself. The president says the vacancies are hindering the government's coronavirus response.
We have a tremendous number of people that have to come into government, and now more so than ever before because of the virus.
But experts say the power to adjourn Congress doesn't apply in this case because the president can only use that authority when Congress itself is deadlocked on a date to adjourn. The president is facing pushback from a fellow Republican, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who released a statement pledging to find ways to confirm nominees considered mission critical to the COVID-19 pandemic, but under Senate rules that will take consent from Leader Schumer.
Now, you're probably wondering exactly what Trump is referring to when he says the number of people that he's trying to push through Congress for the COVID-19 pandemic. It's judges. It's judges. It's not medical personnel. It's not doctors. It's not nurses. It's not research scientists. It's judges. Because if you ever remember from a year back, he still has plenty of people he's trying to push through as federal judges on the lower courts. And because Congress has yet to confirm these choices. He decided to say, screw you guys, I'm going to exercise my authority. And the one thing about Trump that just amazes me so is how little he knows the Constitution. Where he feels like, okay, I'm president, so that means I can do whatever I want. No, no, there's checks and balances to this stuff, man. And you, like I said, if you need to hire somebody, hire a constitutional teacher to teach you what you can and cannot do as president. That would help us out so much. Because him saying, well, I have the ability to do so, no, you don't. Not in the least, you don't. And you should not be surprised that you do. But it is amazing to me that for the simple fact of the matter, that you think you do. But again, it's one of those situations where, like I said before, and please feel free to comment, and please comment what you think about the entire situation, also at the bottom as well. But it amazes me so that how little of the world Trump really, doesn't really know. But, like I said before, he's running it like a business. And I hate to be the kid that cried wolf, but I also hate to be the kid I told you so. This is what Trump does. He literally and figuratively runs it like his own company, and when it burns down in flames, he runs straight for bankruptcy. Except you can't put a country in the bankruptcy. You shouldn't, because then we're gonna wind up like Brexit. But going back to the unemployment, guys, there's no way to say this, but unfortunately the numbers are growing when it comes to unemployment, and as you heard from the previous news, we are at 22 million and counting.
To breaking news, a record-shattering 6.6 million Americans filed for unemployment last week.
I need this money yesterday.
It's frustrating. It's scary. I just don't feel like anybody's helping us.
So tell me about the first time that you tried to file.
It was March 22nd, and it was a Sunday, and I started at first thing in the morning, and it was all day. And then I tried in the middle of the night. I've been setting my alarm for 1 in the morning so I could do it from 1 to 5 in the morning, and it's the same thing.
When you were let go from your job temporarily, was there an assumption from your employer that you'd be able to file for unemployment and you'd be able to get by through that?
He felt terrible about having to let everybody go. I mean, it's a private-owned restaurant. He figured it would be easy. He didn't think it would be this hard for his employees to get help. So I think he thought he was doing what he needed to do, and he thought we would be taken care of.
When do you need the money by?
I have bills to pay at the beginning of May. I'm good through my bills for this month. I had enough set aside, but if I don't get the stimulus, if I don't get the unemployment, like, I'm not gonna be able to pay my mortgage May 1st. Nobody wants to be on unemployment. I want to be at work, but this isn't a normal situation, you know? It really opens your eyes to reality of the struggle a lot of people have, not just now, but all the time.
All right, say hi, Chris.
Hello, how are you?
It almost looks like your hand has like an airbrush filter, and that's really the beauty of this product.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
How many times would you say that you've called?
In total, called at least 300 times. It's on speed dial, and the number of times that you try to reach them at a certain day is in parentheses, and it's like, it is, I cringe every time I look at it, because the call doesn't even go through anymore, you know?
Have you filed for unemployment before?
Never. I've never been in this situation before. And I'm in a particularly unique situation because I've always had a full-time salary job. So I'm also like paying out of pocket for healthcare and things like that right now. So as you can imagine, the expenses are piling up.
When do you need this money by?
I need this money yesterday. have a envelope full of cash that I made from bartending over the last few months that I'm slowly taking 20s out of if I need food or gas or like something that's a necessity. And that stack of money is dwindling quite fast, as you can imagine. And that's really all I have.
What would your message be to the people in charge of this system?
Well, I find it hard to believe that, like, we can't even get through on the phone lines. Like, I know that the whole world is kind of upside down, but could they initiate a process where some of their employees are working from home or they're hiring more people to answer phones? People like me, I would be willing to answer phones, from the unemployment office to get paid right now. I mean, the system is very clearly inundated, but they're not doing anything to let people like me who have not heard anything in almost a month, almost 3 weeks plus, from the unemployment office, let us know what we're doing wrong, if anything. Like, if they could send out an automated response being like, look, we got your application, hold tight, we're processing it, it's going to take about 3 to 4 weeks, that would be better than dead silence.
So that pretty much gives you an idea of, well, really, the simple fact of the matter is, I looked at, like, a lot of people are getting their eyes open to the simple fact of the matter of how the unemployment system works, and like she said, how inundated it is. Because, trust me, from a person who's actually went through unemployment once before, it is not fun, it is a pain in the ass, it takes entirely too long for you to finally get help. Really, for me, my unemployment kicked in right as of the time I found another job, which, again, that was going on 2 or 3 weeks, because you have to wait 2 weeks just to get an answer, and then another couple of weeks to first get your checks. And the thing about unemployment is, especially in this nowadays, of course, employers, because of the stimulus plan out there, which adds an additional $600 to whatever they're going to be getting, it literally tells small businesses to let go of their people and say, hey, you can file for unemployment, you'll get a lot more than what I can actually give you right now. The problem is, the simple fact of the matter with unemployment is that it's an old system that is yet to be fixed. It is just simply not working and things of that nature. It is honestly, well, for the lack of better words, it's, how can I put this in so many ways? It needs to be overhauled. First and foremost, it does need to be overhauled. But at the same time, it's one of those things to where it shines light on the fact of the matter is that, yes, you may not be working, but somehow bills still are. And yet, again, I feel myself still saying the same thing I said beforehand. Bernie got it right. There should be a moratorium on utilities, bills, and things of that nature to ease the stress of folks trying to figure out how to make ends meet within this entire scenario that we're going through, this COVID-19 virus. It should have been done a lot. But the thing about it is, Congress won't do it for reasons beyond my comprehension. I definitely don't see Dorito doing that anytime soon. But then again, I shouldn't expect him to have anything short of an intelligent idea. At the same time, I honestly think that a lot of people who have never been put in the situation of filing for unemployment are seeing what other people who unfortunately have been in that situation before are dealing with unemployment, and they're just now seeing the reality, and I hate to say it in so many words, you're now seeing how the other side lives. And trust me, it's not, and as fun as people make it out to be, it's not fun at all. But other things that are going on is that, how can I put this in so many ways? I understand that, of course, if you're a business owner in this day and age, and you're not considered an essential business, that you're not allowed to open. It doesn't mean that you can somehow become your own Boston Tea Party. This will explain it.
Stay-at-home orders, and now even some business owners are defying the government, promising to reopen as early as today. Here's ABC's Kimberly Brooks with those details.
This morning, workers across the country pushing back.
We want to go back to work.
We need to get this going again. It's time.
I'm a free American, and we need to start freaking acting like it.
From Texas to Virginia, protests erupting as states extend stay-at-home orders. In Minnesota, people taking to the streets, in cars and on foot, toting signs like, "You can't quarantine the Constitution," and all jobs are essential. And in Michigan, local law enforcement is now joining the resistance, with at least 4 sheriff's departments saying they will no longer enforce the governor's stay-at-home order. Writing, while we understand her desire to protect the public, we question some restrictions that she has imposed as overstepping her executive authority. Meanwhile, some store owners say they plan to get back to business no matter what.
I'm fully aware of the risks that I'm taking.
In Alabama, this barbershop owner is opening his doors, saying his livelihood depends on it.
I've thought it through completely, not taking this lightly.
And in Ohio, the owner of a racetrack says he's reopening now.
I didn't plan for a pandemic. I never put money away for the rainy day. We are opening.
Even though Ohio's governor says the state will slowly begin reopening on May 1st.
Summit Motorsports Park is not going to wait for Dr. Fauci and wait for Amy Acton and wait for Mike DeWine because none of them even know I exist and none of them really care.
Guys, and now one Ohio.
Now that's effing scary, isn't it? That I just got through saying how quickly America wants to get back to work and that you have individuals out there. You have individuals out there. Screw you. Screw the government. You're not going to step on my rights. You're not. You know what you're going to do? You're not going to step on my rights. I'm an American. We need to start acting like Americans. Dadgummit. You gotta love misguided patriotism. You gotta love misguided patriotism when you hear it. Especially when the simple fact of the matter is, it's being done for your own good. How in the world do we stop a COVID-19 virus from sharing if we're in large gatherings? Hey guys, let's protest during this time outside, all 20 plus of us, and our kids too. Just as a person who sees that, I just go, it is amazing we've made it this far as a species. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I honestly think that Darwin was right, but in the sense of this, it's just that, again, this goes to the whole point of folks still having bills, even though they can't work, even though they can't run their business. It's out of desperation, it's out of frustration, and it's out of desperation. So you figure, let me go ahead and reopen my business. Well, congratulations. If other people out of your place get sick, you're responsible. And I honestly get the fact that people are fed up and chained up. That's why I always tell folks, look, it is completely okay to go outside your own home and enjoy the sunshine. You should. But it doesn't give you a right to go down and protest something to where you could possibly spread the virus even more. And even more so is just that, well, you pretty much get idiots like this who pass along misinformation.
It's a virus. It's got to spread.
Are you concerned about this virus?
I was in the beginning until I've done my research and found out the realities and the media's overreach on it, and that it's not as serious as they made it out to be. And that's why I am here, because I feel that they are overreaching, overreacting, and crushing our small businesses, crushing our economy.
I see you're wearing a mask, so you appear to have some level of concern.
Yes, well, I have concern. I have just common courtesy for people. I might be here today, I might be a Republican, but I have common sense.
Do you have any concern that this gathering might cause this virus to spread further?
Hell yeah.
It will a little, but I don't think it's to the extent that they're trying to make it out to be. Again, it's a virus. It's got to spread. And until people start getting an immune system to it, it's going to continue to do this.
All right.
And we will never get away from it until we get an immunity to it.
in a crowd of hundreds of people who are gathered here on the Capitol steps. A number of them have signs. One here in the foreground says, "Recall Whitmer now." We see a number of American flags. A lot of those red "Make America Great Again" hats.
My name is Joseph Dixon, and I came out here to support the Michigan businesses and stand up for the rights of our fellow Michiganders. And we believe that the governor has overreached and overstepped her rights with our freedoms.
Another incredible sight in this surreal ordeal as we battle this coronavirus pandemic. The Capitol steps, the scene of a protest. The whole idea here was that folks would stay in their car and participate in this gridlock, but we've seen a lot of folks who are saying they're not doing that. They're here, they're on the Capitol steps, staging a more traditional protest here in front of the Capitol building in Lansing. What would be your message if the governor is listening?
To listen to the people. We have common sense. We're not children. We know what's right and what's wrong and how to take care of ourselves. I've had a quadruple bypass. I've had a heart attack, a stroke, and I'm still not afraid to go out in public. It's how you take care of yourself. We're not, like I said, we're not her children. Stay away from people. You know, not totally stay away, but you have to social distance a little bit. But until this virus runs its course, it's going to stay here. And all we're doing is hiding from it.
Okay. I'm sorry. I've watched that clip by now 60 times, and it amazes me. Number one, how is the guy going to sit there and say, well, I've done my research, and it's really not that bad, and he's walking around like a ninja with the mask on. And the reporter points it out. He goes, well, it's not that bad. I think we'll make it. And the reporter sits there and says, I see that you have your mask on. Aren't you a little bit concerned? Well, yeah. There's some concern. Again, why are we surprised about the level of hypocrisy there? I mean, the level of hypocrisy there is amazing to me, especially with the guy at the end. You can tell because he's there saying, it's a virus, it's got to spread. No, it doesn't have to spread. If it did have to spread, we wouldn't have this lockdown and stay at home moment. The fact that your logic is that in order for us to become immune to the virus, we must be exposed to it. And the only way to be exposed to it is be around people. And that's how we build up immunity. Somebody skipped anatomy and physiology in their classes somewhere. Because that's not how immunity works. In the same sense where people don't get vaccines don't understand how vaccines work. The simple fact of the matter is just that there is a reason why we're actually having people to separate. There's a reason why we have social distancing. There's a reason why we're having a lot of people stay at home. But the simple fact of the matter is we're trying to stop the infection vector of it all. And yes, we are. And yes, right now there is some news about some vaccines and some things being tested out there. They haven't been made public as of yet to see if they're actually going to be used or dispersed. But again, going out there and saying we're not children, and then at the end of it all, which I thought the old guy was funny, he's like, I had a quadruple bypass. I'm not afraid to go out in public. Having a bypass versus actually passing along an infectious disease are two different things, folks. At the same time, it's amazing how he was sitting there, and at the end, he started to go right into the logical path, and I think somewhere in his mind, he realized he fucked up. Like he says, well, I think the only way we're going to do this if we socially distance ourselves and we kind of keep to each other and we kind of stay in our own lanes. And you could see the fact of everything that he said that was making sense starting to fuck with the fact of why he was out there in the first place. Again, that was actually at the time of the governor of Michigan who actually extended the stay-at-home order. And of course, there was like the report said, they were supposed to be protesting in their cars, but in typical white people fashion, they decided to go ahead and go one notch up. I just find it amazing that whenever white people protest, no one sits there and says, well, could you find a better way of doing that? Couldn't you find another time to do that? See, when white people protest, it's patriotic. When minorities protest, it's a nuisance to white people. But again, with that simple fact of the matter, guys, like I said, let me know in your comments what you think. Again, I do kind of feel like this one guy who was a hospital worker in the same state as the actual protest was going on. And I agree with the man.
People, I have something to say. I work for Sparrow Hospital. How can I do my job if y'all idiots are blocking up the ways to get to the hospital? There are people dying every minute. And you guys, Trump supporters, want to block up everything and don't care about nobody else. What if it was your mother? What if it was your father? What if your infant son or daughter gets sick because you decide to go around and open up the windows so your kids and your family members can hang their heads out the window to support something that you have no business to do? This is ridiculous. It is unfair for the people that have to go to work every single day, especially in the hospital, to do their job. If y'all don't take y'all asses home, this is what I'm mad about. All y'all want to sit down there and pump your horn, hang out the window, throw your flag out because y'all don't like what somebody told y'all to do? Y'all some idiots. Total idiots. I can't do my job. I can't help anybody because y'all decide to block up every entrance way to get to the hospital. What kind of sense does that make? Y'all some idiots. And if y'all don't take y'all asses home and get out in the cold so we can get through this pandemic, really? I'm sorry to rant, but I got a job to do. And you guys are not letting me do my job. And I'm pissed. Because if one of my family members gets sick and I got to bring their test in, I can't get the test in because y'all got the roads blocked.
We see a number of American flags. A lot of those red, Make America Great.
And I completely feel how that man feels. And also, shout out to all nurses, doctors, first responders, post office workers, truckers, grocery store attendants, and everybody who's been told they're an essential business and have to go into work every day that are risking getting the virus only because they're trying to keep America running. First and foremost, let me say thank you because, like I said, that guy, that nurse said it best. We're trying to do our jobs, and you guys are in the fucking way. Although I did feel a little bit of Bernie Mac come out. Like, I kept on wanting him to say, I thought he was going to say, you motherfuckers don't get out of my motherfucking way. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to slap some of y'all Trump-loving motherfuckers' heads off, slap that red hat right off your ass. I was expecting Bernie Mac to come out of him. But at the same time, he speaks the truth. It's hard to do a job because you have idiots out there protesting stupidity and everything else in the sun. So I just had to play that just because it, simply put, had to be said. It had to be said, but then again, we shouldn't be surprised about ignorance because if you look at one state, you kind of see why Republicans exist and why they keep multiplying.
Hey, Bill, I'm here in Mississippi, the poorest state in America, which is also the most conservative state in our union.
So why is Mississippi so conservative?
Well, in the heart of the Bible Belt, we believe in family. We believe in Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Whoever gets elected needs to be family orientated.
God should come into his mind in everything that he does. You never liked President, did you?
Never, and never will.
Why not?
One thing, his name's Obama.
This is America. Our president should be American, not Muslim.
I don't even like it. When I see him on TV, I turn it off. I don't like it.
Is it because he's black?
No, it's not because you're black, because he's a half-breed. He's black too, but he's a half-breed.
Yes, I'm a little prejudiced.
Are you? You don't like black people?
Not much.
Why not?
Just don't.
What is this? Where are we?
We're in the state of Mississippi. I don't care for the government. They don't show me anything.
You get food stamps.
Yeah, but I think I deserve food stamps. I have no unemployment.
I hate Obamacare. I think it's retarded and pointless.
But a lot of people in Mississippi need health care.
Yeah. Back when I was growing up and when my parents were growing up and my grandparents were growing up, we didn't have all that and people still made it. And back then people pulled their own weight. They didn't sit around waiting for everyone else to take care of them.
So you don't care about the economy?
No, just take care of yourself. You put God back in the saddle, it'll all be okay.
So something's not working here.
That's
Voting
right.
Republican hasn't worked for you.
But it could.
But it hasn't.
It hasn't, but it could.
Why is the poorest state the most conservative state?
We would rather go broke and die hungry than to give up our moral beliefs.
I feel like that voting God and voting faith is more important to me than voting for free money or voting for a handout.
I'm going to stand up for what I believe in, even if I go broke doing it.
We're not going to be pushed over. We lost the war. That's true. But we're not going to be pushed around. We're not going to back down from what we believe. And like the tag on the front of my truck says, the South will rise again.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but
what other way can I put that to the point to where, and you know, again, I don't mean to make fun of Mississippi. Like I said, it is the poorest state in the U.S. And wow, I don't know if I was watching Republicans voting against their own interests or I was watching the next episode of Tiger King. But I kind of like Joe Exotic was going to come out of somewhere at this point, or Carol Baskin. But that's just a point. I mean, it's amazing to me, like I said, when it comes down to misinformation and things of that nature, really should not be surprised about that because, let's be honest, I love the fact that President Obama said it best. You got some folks that'll hang on to their guns and their Bibles as if it was their children. And yet he caught hell for saying that, but it's true. Look at the South. But aside from that, like I said, with the COVID-19 going on, a lot of people are wondering, well, what happened to this little small business plan that was supposed to go through? Because keep in mind, guys, for the simple fact of the matter, for everybody that does remember how the stimulus plan is supposed to work, just to give you guys a quick reel of it, $250 billion of that was supposed to go as checks to us. The $1,200 checks, $2,400, $500 per child dependent that you receive. And also, you would get $250 billion that would go to unemployment benefits. And here's the problem that I had with this. $50 billion of that plan went to the airlines, $500 billion went to large companies, and $300 billion went to small businesses. Why the fuck did $500 billion go to large corporations? That's my question. For the simple fact of the matter, that small businesses got $300 billion, while large businesses got $500 billion, and airline industries got $50 billion. There is honestly no words for that. And again, how was that even past the point to where it made sense? For the simple fact of the matter is, it doesn't make sense. It's crappy as it is, and for a lot of small businesses, that plan ain't working for them anymore. Well, basically because they ran out of money.
Action program is out of money. After a chaotic start, more than 14 years worth of loans were processed in less than 14 days, but it wasn't enough. Before the economy was in free fall, these small business owners were already worried.
It's hard stuff.
It's painful for me to think about these families that I'm responsible for.
We're down about 80%.
My fear is that these doors won't open and the people won't come through.
That's exactly what happened when stay-at-home orders went into effect. Now, with the $350 billion exhausted, the push to add another $250 billion is stalled in Congress. Democrats insisting on new wording after criticism those who needed the loans most were not prioritized. Still, to meet the full demand, experts say the price tag will be significantly higher. Danny Koch owns the Town Shop in New York. He has 28 employees.
It's devastating. I was acting on good faith and paying my employees.
He says he had no idea the application window would close so quickly.
The one little piece of the puzzle that was possibly going to keep everyone going and keep everyone afloat is now gone.
Denny Moe owns a barbershop in Harlem. His application has not been approved.
If I don't get the loan, I can probably last till May. I really don't even want to think about that.
Alex Perry, who owns a commercial sign company in Chicago, just got word he was one of the nearly 1.7 million loans approved.
It was day to day, almost hour to hour that I was worrying about the business. And now, just almost like, snap of a finger, I feel much more confident.
Deborah Miller's loan was also just approved, but she's using donations and personal savings to pay 10 of the employees at her catering company to make free meals for hospital workers and first responders.
It's a win-win. We're giving work to our employees as well as feeding those frontline people.
If you have applied for a Paycheck Protection loan and haven't been approved, contact your lender and make sure all your paperwork is in order. That way, if the funds get replenished, and there's a good chance they will be, you'll be.
There's a good chance that you'll probably still be waiting. But the fact of the matter is, like I said before, as I showed in the previous deal, that only 300 billion went to small businesses, 500 billion went to large corporations. I have said this before, and I've said this again. Why do airline industries, which is $1 billion business, large corporations, which have plenty of equity, simply do not go to banks and get loans because they have the assets needed to satisfy collateral? Nobody seems to be asking that question, but they'll literally go to Congress and be like, please, sir, can I have some more? That's pretty much what they're doing. And yet, how did this pass? Well, there's a little thing called lobbying, and airlines can do it well, large corporations can do it well, and unfortunately, until lobbying is outlawed and banned, we're unfortunately going to be stuck with that. So, again, with the smaller businesses getting the small chunk of the pie, which, let's be honest, the Republicans love to champion small business. They love to champion small business, but yet give them the smaller amounts versus the large corporations who actually donate to campaigns. Again, lobbying should actually be outlawed, considered a felony. But you know what the funny part is about this whole... Well, I won't say it's funny. I can't say it's funny. I cannot say it's funny. I won't say it's funny because the simple fact of the matter is those who are expecting stimulus payments, a lot of you guys actually may have gotten it this week. Some of y'all may have gotten it on the April 15th, and some are still on the way of getting it if you're getting direct deposits. Some of those, if you're waiting on checks, you're gonna probably be a while. But the news that I'm about to actually show right now may not be very helpful if you haven't received your stimulus payment as of yet.
From this outbreak, another jobless claims report this morning expected to show millions more filing for unemployment. And while some are receiving those relief checks you mentioned, the mass rush for those stimulus payments is causing some confusion and delays. Rebecca Jarvis joins us now with more on all that. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning, Robin. And you can appreciate the urgent need for those stimulus checks. Just this morning, we've learned another 5 million Americans were laid off last week and filed for those unemployment benefits. That brings the total in just the last month to more than 22 million Americans who have been laid off. That means all the job gains since the financial crisis have been wiped out in just 1 month.
According to the White House, 80 million Americans have received their stimulus payments. But for some, chaos and confusion amid the rush to get the checks out at record speed.
It says
that there's not any info on when my payment will be deposited.
The account that they had deposited to was one number off from my account.
The website stated that the check was deposited into my bank account today, April 15th. Well, that particular bank account is closed and I haven't used it in years.
Even the IRS site Get My Payment, created to answer those questions, crashing and returning error messages on its first day. More than 22 million Americans lost their jobs in just the last month, with many of the latest losses in retail, where sales of clothing and clothing accessories plunged more than 50% in March.
We had next to no sales, hadn't had any for weeks.
Lisa Lewick spent the last 13 years working as a sales associate at Macy's in Seattle. Her job, along with thousands of others, was furloughed last month.
So we're concerned what will happen? What will the future be like? When will we be able to go to work? Will we be able to go to work?
Mia Lupo, a furloughed stylist on the other side of the country at Bloomingdale's in Norwalk, Connecticut, shares those fears.
If you were an hourly wage retail worker, right? Like you're already living from paycheck to paycheck. You know, you don't have savings or an emergency fund.
For more information on the status of your stimulus check, you can use the Get My Payment tool at irs.gov. Michael?
Yes, so that's unfortunately where a lot of people are running into that issue with the stimulus payments not going through. If you haven't got it yet already, also you want to check with your banks if the bank's being held up. Unfortunately, if you do have child support, it is going to take that. It's not supposed to take away if you have any outstanding debts with banks or things of that nature. But again, you always want to check. It is amazing to me that we're still dealing with this, and this is just a one-time payment. Even though right now Democrats are trying to actually get it set up to where the plan they're pushing through is to where every American over the age of 16 to make less than $130,000 a year will be getting $2,000 a month for the foreseeable future. It'll be amazing to see if that gets passed. But then again, we pay large corporations nearly $500 billion, and no one is saying anything about it, except me. Well, except me and probably some other folks. But still, I asked that question because it still needs to be answered on that part. But speaking about that, though, with the COVID-19, there is one thing it is pointing out about it is that it is starting to hit minorities a little bit harder than anybody else. And honestly, it's going to be a situation to where one doctor has described that the only way it can change is that we need to have some attention put on us, which, again, I believe. But here's the article.
Water that we just heard, to the disproportionate way that this virus is claiming black lives. And that's not because of the way that the virus attacks, but because of the circumstances that certain communities have had to endure for generations. Emergency physician Dr. Garth Walker wrote a powerful op-ed in the Chicago Sun-Times titled, "As a doctor, how do I tell a black family of 5 struck by the virus to social distance in a 2-bedroom apartment?" highlighting some of the hard truths of our society's shortcomings. Dr. Walker, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Doctor, you start your op-ed with a personal anecdote about a friend asking you what he should do about a sick family member. Tell us about that and why you found yourself at a loss.
As an emergency physician, one of the things that we're trained really well to do is to stabilize patients and save lives. But one of the big challenges is to adapt to the true lived experiences of our patients. And when we talk about our community, an American community in Chicago, there's just huge barriers that they're dealing with. So when a pandemic strikes, it essentially just lifts the curtain and just shows the inequities in our country. So when I have a patient that comes in and they live in a 1-bedroom apartment with 6 people, it's hard to tell them to socially isolate. We have to be pretty creative about how we do that. And when there's no resources to supplement that, it becomes very, very, very challenging.
Just today, the state of Illinois reported 125 coronavirus-related deaths in the last 24 hours alone. That's their highest death toll since this pandemic began. Do you continue to expect that the black population will die at a higher rate than other races?
I hope not. But honestly, when you look back at the history, this is decades and decades of disinvestment, decades and decades of mistrust between the African-American community and the hospital community. And when you tack on the social and economic drivers that have been driven by structural racism, it's hard to think that African Americans are not going to continue to take the burden from this pandemic. And so my hope is that we're able to recognize the role that race has played in this so that we can come to some real solutions.
Well, you mentioned the word hope twice, and many of us know that hope is not a winning strategy. So what do we need to do? What kind of solutions can be implemented at all levels to help curb the loss of Black lives?
Yeah, so it's going to take a lot of empathy. It's going to take a lot of intention. And it's going to be taking a lot of tackling this straight on. We have to be able to mass test our most vulnerable communities. You know, in Chicago, we just ramped up testing to the south side. But we can't just stop there. We have to be able to talk about the social services that our communities need. So, for example, that family that I was just discussing, if they have an elderly patient or elderly person in their home, we have to be able to come up with unique solutions to house that person if they are at risk. And we have to be able to ramp up delivery networks to those members. And we have to be able to think strategically what our most vulnerable populations need. And if we're going to make any type of advancement, we have to be able to talk about the role that race has played, because we're all interconnected. We're all crossing each other's lives. Our essential workers are going in and out back into the community. We have to make sure that they have PPE. And the only way we can do this is take a different approach going towards the future.
Dr. Walker, thank you so much.
And he's absolutely right. It's the whole thing about doing more for communities that have been stagnated, that have actually been systemically racist and gentrified. At the same time, they need more help. Once there's more help put to this, the lower amount of African American deaths can happen. So I definitely agree with him. There's nothing more to be said than what he's already pointed out. That honestly, when it comes down to it, those folks need help. Now, for our next last story, before we get to our good news segment, guys, I know today is Saturday, tomorrow's Sunday. Some of y'all will probably be getting up. Some of y'all will probably be hopping on the Zoom or Facebook Live for your favorite worship service. You know, to be enlightened, to feel charged, to feel in tune with your spiritual self. And your favorite pastor out there, that's right, the guy who sits there and says that he can heal coronaviruses, y'all. He just wants you to come on up. He wants you to come up on the altar. He wants you to just hold his unchanging hand. And he too will heal you. But he also wants you to do one special thing this Sunday. You know, Pastor Totus Fail, from the revival churches, he wants you to do something. When you come, bring your stimulus package.
Hashtag Pastor Spell Stimulus Challenge. 3 rules. Number 1, April the 19th, 2020. It begins. Rule number 2, donate your stimulus money. Rule number 3, donate it to evangelists, North American evangelists who haven't had an offering in a month, missionaries who haven't had an offering in a month, music ministers who haven't had an offering in a month. I'm donating my entire stimulus, $1,200. My wife is donating her stimulus, $1,200. My son is donating his stimulus, $600. Hashtag Pastor Spell Stimulus Challenge. If you don't have a church, give through my website, www.ltcbr.com, Larry Tango Charlie Baton Rouge.com. I'm here on the Mississippi River. I'm here at Red Stick, Baton Rouge. Hashtag Pastor Spell Stimulus Challenge.
That's right, dear friends. We're here for you. But don't forget your stimulus package. Let you know, I've donated my stimulus package. My wife's donated her stimulus package. My son's donated his stimulus package. Because you know why? Because bitch better have my money on Sunday. I don't honestly get it. I said, you know what? This reminds me of that guy at that, what was that guy's name? Pastor John Gray, Relentless Church. Remember that guy? who was enjoying the whole life of a celebrity preacher and then finally got disgraced because he couldn't keep it in his pants. That guy. This Tony Spell guy kind of reminds me of every serial killer from Criminal Minds. That's just me. I hate to say that, but he does remind me of every serial killer from Criminal Minds. And I never understood. Like, my whole thing about tithing, giving. Let's just say giving money. I never can pronounce that word. My whole thing about it, I've said before on my other podcast. If you want to do it, cool. If not, it shouldn't be held against you. But the whole thing of, preachers haven't had an offering in months, musical directors haven't had offerings in months, and things of that nature. Look, I'm not saying it just feels like a scam to me. It really does. And at the same time, instead of just sitting there saying, well, why don't you come for your spiritual enlightenment? Why don't you come to get closer with God? And heal your spirit. Find the strength to get through this tough times. But don't forget your stimulus package. I just thought to myself the whole entire time, it is amazing to me how some preachers will always be ready to make sure that you're donating. Besides him and Kenneth Copeland and Joel Osteen, Joel Osteen, that hello dear friends. I'm like, you ever notice that the harder Joel Osteen smiles, it's almost like an anime character, because when he does this, his eyes just, I'm like, is the harder he smiles, is the more he closes his eyes, the harder he smiles? I just thought to myself the entire time, like, dude, you ain't got to smile that hard. I mean, sure, you're fake and full of shit, but at the same time, you don't got to smile that goddamn hard. But let me stop there. This is supposed to be an informative show. But that's really all the stories that I have here. We're about to go to our good news segment. Like I said, I have the Frack We Got Here. We do say a lot of things that are sometimes doom and gloom, and like I said, it's the show. It's on the weekend. It's Saturday. Hopefully you guys have went outside and got some fresh air. Hopefully not too far. I mean, just go outside and enjoy it, because right now, especially in Tennessee, it is a little on the mild side. So I'm surprised by that, because if you don't like Tennessee weather, give it a few seconds, it'll change. But if you're doing that, like I said, it's Saturday. We're supposed to be feeling good, have a little chuckle, things of that nature. And this one right here, it is a news story that I thought somebody had made up. And I actually went back, and apparently this is true. A governor in Kenya, if I could switch it over. Let me, hang on a second, guys. I know, technical difficulties, I apologize. There we go. So, Kenya governor under fire after putting Hennessy bottles in Corona care packages. When I first saw this, I thought up and down this was a fake article. It turns out it is new. Nairobian politician Mike Sonko decided that in his care packages, he put in bottles of Hennessy that he literally justified as throat sanitizer. You know what? I am now going to call alcohol throat sanitizer. Because you know what? I see it now. Oh, my throat. It feels so dirty. Let me have a shot of Hennessy. Ooh, that's good throat sanitizer. Ooh, my throat feels so clean now. And I thought it was funny. I mean, granted, he came out there and said, well, they use sanitizing. And here's the thing about alcohol, because I know we've seen it on movies where, you probably seen it on movies where they don't have anything to sterilize something. They pour alcohol on it to sterilize it. And honestly, that's movie magic. Please don't do that in real life. Which I thought was funny, the company for Hennessy came out and sat there and said, Hennessy would like to stress the consumption of our brand or any other alcohol beverage does not protect against the virus. Actually, the funny part is with alcohol, it can kind of lower your immune response system to anything. So I'm going to keep that in mind as you're knocking them back. Trust me when I sit there and say brown liquor will turn you into a furnace and it will burn out any virus. But at the same time, it kind of does lower it. But then again, it's kind of funny that a politician is sending out care packages with Hennessy in it. I bet if Dorito did that, he would get some of the black vote. I'm not going to lie. I know I shouldn't joke about that. But think about the simple fact of the matter. If Donald Trump did it, would that be considered welcome or immediately racist that he's targeting black folks? Let's be honest. That's the stereotype they put with us, with Hennessy. I'm personally a whiskey person, a whiskey and moonshine person. But imagine if Dorito did something like that. you would have folks rioting overnight. Well, at least the ones that weren't drinking it. But again, also another story I have here, guys, is that of course with paying it forward and people trying to keep small businesses in check. I wish I had this ability. Bakery customer spends $1,000 on a single donut, a single custard filled donut. And of course, he was a regular that's been coming to this donut stop for a number of years. Found out that the donut store was actually going through hard times and decided to pay way more than what the donut is actually worth. And so, of course, I do get it. It's a whole thing of paying it forward. It's a whole thing of making sure that some customers, some business owners are able to pay their employees. We've seen that happen, like I said previously on the previous podcast that I did, where you actually had the customers at one bar where everybody was stapling $1 bills to a bar ceiling, and then the owner decided to take all those dollars and spread them out amongst their employees, and every employee got about $600, $700 a piece. Which tells you at the bat that there are some small business owners out there that are trying to keep their place afloat, trying to keep people employed. And again, I can't knock a guy who paid $1,000 for a custard-filled donut, because at first I thought for $1,000 there better be some gold flakes in that custard for you to justify paying $1,000. But hey, it goes to a good cause in that sense. And also the last story I have here, guys, is just that one kid has finally figured out to be able to help the people better than the government has, because PPE is needed, and this kid was able to figure it out.
Boy in Mexico is doing his part in an effort to battle the coronavirus by making masks and visors from a 3D printer to give to medical professionals. Jorge Martinez, who lives in Oaxaca, is on lockdown from school, but is definitely putting his quarantine time to good use. He's so far made around 100 of the PPEs to supply to personnel on the front lines of the virus. This idea to make visors came about from the need for doctors to cover their faces, as this new virus, coronavirus, spreads through the eyes, nose, and mouth. The 3D printing process takes about 45 minutes for each mask, and the visors are an easy clean according to Dr. Leva Hernandez. The visors are very useful for us. They're light, so they are helpful for use in cases in the hospital. They are being used over many hours. The visors are more practical and easier to use and clean. So far, there have been over 300 deaths and more than 4,000 coronavirus cases in Mexico. Displaced Syrian children practice social distancing as they're entertained and informed about the dangers of COVID.
Oh, that went to another story. So yes, so the fact of the matter is, a child was able to figure out how to be helpful and give PPE to their local hospitals. And I'm just thinking to myself, we got a government that's too busy trying to make money off PPE equipment, and you have a child out there that's sitting there saying, oh, I know what I can do with a 3D printer. I can help. And again, that just shows you at the bat that there is still some hope for humanity. That, when it comes to us, we can't figure out our own problems, and we should not expect a Dorito tenant-like individual who's too busy, running his victory lap, not realizing about the fact that the coronavirus is still going on. So, with that being said, guys, that is the end of our podcast this week. I do apologize for the late start. We were having a little bit of technical difficulties earlier. So with that being said, let me also sit there and first again say thank you to all the first responders. Well, let me try it again, because that came out wrong. Cool. Thank you for all the first responders out there. I'm talking doctors, nurses, hospital attendants, custodians, and I'm also talking about the post office workers, because that is currently under fire right now. If Congress was smart, they would actually stop mandating the post office pay out retirements 50 years in advance. They actually do need more help. Honestly, the post office should have gotten what large corporations actually got, because that is a service that needs not to be privatized. It needs to be funded, and that's where Congress should step up and actually help those individuals. Realistically, help them the same way you helped out large corporations, because you don't see large corporations like Ruth Chris right now complaining, because guess what? A corporation like Ruth Chris Steakhouse just got one of those small business loans with stimulus package. But again, thank you all those, and thank you as far as the post office. Thank you truckers, especially, because you guys are definitely heroes right now, keeping stores packed up. Also, grocery workers, attendants, and also those that are working in the Amazon and UPS and FedEx areas. You guys are literally, I hope you actually do get paid, and I hope you're actually getting the personal protection that you need, and I hope you're being safe, because let's be honest, you were asked to put your life on the line on a daily freaking basis, and thank you for that. So, aside from that, guys, with that being said, also let me thank you, the viewers who are watching this. I cannot thank you guys enough for sharing, starting watch parties, things of that nature. Letting me know that you like it. I did have some people sit there and say I need to cover more stuff. I promise I will try to do more of that. But like I said, we try to report from a fact-based area. We don't want to go into conspiracy theories, so that's what we're trying to stay away from. But I do thank everybody that's watched. I cannot say thank you enough, because it lets me know that what I'm doing is some people are enjoying and actually look forward to, and I try to do that. And also, if you're noticing this thing scrolling above my head, I am actually taking donations, because like I said, trying to make the show better. So if you can, feel free. I'm not going to Tony spell you into it. As far as telling you to donate your stimulus package to me, I am saying if you do get your stimulus package, please use that to take care of home. Or if you're actually well off, or you plan for situations like this, sit in your stimulus package or invest it. I mean, right now, stocks, homes, funding, liquidation, things of that nature. If you can find something that you can, bury, put in a money seed and watch a money tree and make it grow, definitely do that, because I would recommend that. Aside from that, guys, some shameless plug before I do get out of here. I am not the only cat that has podcasts in our Table of Bosses group that we like to call ourselves. I'll start with Vaughn. Big VZA Dot has a couple of podcasts of his own. The first one is the BST, the Busy Solo Takes. It is a news podcast. That news can be video games. That news can be new music. That news can be trailers you love to show. Interactive show just like mine. He also has Rhythmness, where you can reminisce over the rhythm, which will actually be here today at my place, in which he loves to go over music of the past and the present, grades to a 4-tier rating system. If you know what that rating system is, you have to watch Rhythmness to find out. He also has Random as Fuck with Uncle Beezy. What is Random as Fuck? Random as Fuck is the pool of ratchets that we sometimes dip our toes into to take a break from life and have a chuckle. Some videos will make you think, some videos will make you cry, some videos will just stick with you for the rest of the time. I know mine will. Usually he started doing that every Monday. I'm not sure that's going to be a set block, but definitely go to his Facebook page, on which is BigVZA. Or his YouTube page, BigVZA Podcast, or his Twitch channel at BigVZA to see when he'll actually be posting his podcast and when they're going live. Also, my brother from different mother, Thomas Reed, aka the Mountain Puncher, has a podcast on called To Be Determined. It's a fitness podcast. Have you seen Thomas Reed on Facebook? He is possibly right now going through gym withdrawals because he's not able to go to the gym because of the stay-at-home order. But he loves talking about fitness. I'm pretty sure he'll figure out a way to work out. I'm pretty sure he's pulling chin-ups on a street light right now. But he loves to talk fitness. He loves to actually talk about working out and what things can work for you and things you can try. He is one of those people that do like to encourage other people to find their zenith, and the results depend upon them. Please look at his Facebook at Thomas Reed, or his YouTube page, the number 2, letter T, letter B, letter D. That is 2TBD, to see when he'll be posting his next podcast. Aside from that, Mother Brother from Another Mother, Trace Brown, King Eddie Wayne on Facebook, DJ King Eddie Wayne on YouTube, and DJ King Eddie Wayne podcast on Twitch. Has a couple podcasts of his own. The first one's called The Bump Down, which is music, culture, knowledge, and numbers, in which he goes over album work, sales, things that are hot, and gives his own personal opinion of the musical recording industry. Aside from that, he actually leads into the Bump Down, which I like to call, as I said about Trace, he is probably one of the most unorthodox individuals out there, but he has such a unique opinion and vision on some things that a lot of people can benefit from sharing. So if you want to talk about it, then god dang it, he's willing to talk about it with you, because Trace always wants all the smoke. And aside from yours truly, of course, how the Frack We Got Here is every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon. I know today was a little bit late. I apologize. We definitely will be back on time tomorrow. That's sometime next Saturday. A little bit later today, between 6 to 8 p.m. will be the Dolphins Podcast. I like, as Vaughn has said, we're the community building podcast in which we talk about any subject, and I do mean any subject, and we talk about it in a civilized, progressive manner to show that there can be positive ways of talking about things, no matter the subject. And at the same time, of course, tomorrow between 5 to 7 will be the Get Bit podcast. That is my Blurred podcast, Blurred being a Black Person and Nerd, in which we cover anime, video games, sci-fi, comics, culture, and pretty much even things like wrestling. You know why? Because wrestling is still real to some of us. Damn it! But it is for us, by us, for us to enjoy. So hopefully, I will be seeing you guys, of course, later on the night, and of course tomorrow for both podcasts. All my podcasts can be found under my name, William Buchanan. Also, under each one, as I will make it a point to get the Get Bit podcast up today. If you look up on Facebook, How the Frack We Got Here, the Office Podcast, and very soon, Get Bit, you'll be able to watch all the videos there under those Facebook pages, under my Facebook page, and of course on YouTube. If you look up How the Frack We Got Here, if you look up the Office Podcast, you look up Get Bit, that is GITBIT, you'll be able to see every video that I've done so far, and of course, like, share, and subscribe, and of course, be able to enjoy it. So, with that being said, guys, I hope that you like what I did. If you like what I did, please let me know. If you didn't like what I did, please let me know. I am equal open to all criticism as I'm trying to make this platform better for people to enjoy and for them to be informed in, because the whole point of this show is not to basically persuade or try to inform or try to change your opinion. It is merely trying to give you all the facts untainted to you for you to make up your own mind. So like I said before, an informed community can make a lot better decisions than an uninformed one, because an uninformed one got us Dorito, and that's how the frack we got here. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I certainly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Again, until, I don't want to say until next time, America. That's too much Maury. I will say, guys, thank you again for watching. Again, please be safe. Go out only if you need to. Try to help out those that cannot help themselves, and especially simply the point, because like I said, this virus, yes, a lot of people have recovered from it, but it's also taking a lot of people too. So again, be wary, be careful, be cautious, and if we do that, then we'll overcome. Aside from that, guys, have a wonderful weekend. I am out. Hey!